The other day I was listening to Nirvana's greatest hits, and I grew up and never was really into Nirvana, but the grunge rock scene's really interesting to me because, first of all, you don't really see grunge rock these days. You don't really see rock and roll or bands or any of that kind of stuff these days, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'm like, let's talk about Nirvana. And I was just checking out their greatest hits, and I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this band is basically revolutionary in the kind of music that they pumped out in the 90s. I mean, to this day, it's pretty much unheard of to hear successful grunge type bands, and it's interesting, and I wonder if it'll ever make a comeback. Probably not, because music in general is completely destroyed. You'll have your top pop songs, but streaming basically determines the success of a band these days. It's a little bit more difficult to just build small communities and succeed off of that. But Nirvana was very much a niche type of Seattle band, and then they became more popular, and they were different. They stood out. You don't see too many different things these days. It's a little bit more difficult to be creative in the music space, or to be talent plus creativity. You see a lot of people who come out with your typical pop songs, but there's no earth-shattering meaning behind it. There's no power behind it. Nirvana's music is so powerful, so much emotion, with the exception of somebody like Billie Eilish. Who else really stands out today? Who else really is a serious candidate for music? I find Kurt Cobain fascinating. If you listen to him and just this raw, raspy voice that you can't really get out of people. It's so custom to that individual. When you have a powerful voice that's very unique to you, and you can sing well, you can hit all the notes, you actually have the talent, but this unique ability, I mean, it only helps. If you look at the other band members of that group, you've got Dave Grohl, who is part of the Foo Fighters today, who basically leads the Foo Fighters. It's interesting that you have some really talented artists in a group there. And, that band was short-lived. It unfortunately came to an end too soon. I mean, they could have become the greatest rock band of all time. Potentially. Although, I don't know if they would have gotten that kind of recognition. Because what are you going to compete with? The Rolling Stones, you got U2, Led Zeppelin, Radiohead. I put Radiohead up there. Radiohead's one of my favorites. There's a band that still knows how to make music, and that's a powerful band. And they've stood the test of time, but few and far between. You don't see new bands these days that are blowing your socks off. But Nirvana. Such a unique band, and with the release of that Batman movie, Nirvana had an appearance in that. And then I started hearing people listening to Nirvana again. And I'm like, a lot of the world right now is craving that kind of emotional music. And that's where you see Nirvana. It's really interesting. And the world seemed to be devastated when Kurt Cobain passed away at such a young age too. All these rockers are these talented rockers are dying so soon, and their best work is in their 20s. To think the best moments in music are in your 20s, like, it's fascinating to me. Though I wasn't really into Nirvana back in the day, I will say I'm very appreciative of their talent and giving recognition where recognition is due. And stuff like that's few and far between these days. I won't get into the albums and all of the great songs. Everyone knows the best ones, the ones that stand out. If you are intrigued by Nirvana, what's your favorite song? Tell me in the comments. I liked The Man Who Sold the World. I'm not even saying it right. You know that one. The MTV Unplugged acoustic. That was an incredible performance. I believe that guitar sold for millions of dollars when it was up for auction. But you've got Come As You Are. Smells Like Teen Spirit. Not really interested in that one, but I'm more of the acoustic type person. I like the acoustic, but it's incredible, to also see a band that performs so well live, perhaps even better live than in recording, which can be the case for a lot of people. Yeah. That's me talking softly about Nirvana and Kurt Cobain. Thanks for tuning in.